we are going to study some urban land use theories. This is in continuation to the previous lecture. In the previous lecture, we had seen certain land use theories, the common land use theories, but they are quite old. And like we had studied in the previous previous land use theories, most of them are not applicable to today's scenario. That was applicable to the scenario that was present in 1935 or 39, between 1940. So after 1940 or 1945, various other scholars had also come up with various land use theories. So today we are going to study a few of them, three land use theories. And these theories, that is as is written in the slide, it is generally of post 1950 or after 1945. And most of them are post 1950. So let us see what are the various theories. So the first theory is known as the ecological approach to urban land use. Now this theory is not 1950 or after 1950. This ecological approach to urban land use is not of post 1950. It is actually pre 1950. But then why do we study this over here? The reason being, this ecological approach has bearings. The ecological approach has its impact on the other theories that we will be studying today, which is of post 1950. So that is why we need to study this ecological approach. Now the ecological approach is of 1930s. It was developed in 1930, but then it went on to 1940 also. And then we will study about the social area analysis, which developed mainly in 1950. And the last one is the factorial urban ecology, which is quite new. It took place in 1960s or after 1960s. Now in the ecological approach, when we speak about ecological approach or ecology, so I hope many of you know what is ecology. All of you know what is ecology. This is a term from biology, or many of us who have studied biogeography, we know what is ecology. So ecology has got something to do with organism or living thing. So over here in the ecological approach, city has been compared to a living organism. So city has been compared to a living organism which has life, which grows. So first of all, this ecological approach, it has three kinds of approach. The first is the concepts from natural ecology. As you are seeing over here, the concepts from natural ecology. Now, these concepts over here, which is written like segregation, succession, etc. So these concepts are from natural ecology. We have heard about these concepts like segregation. We know species segregation. We know about species segregation or succession of the species or competition. That is, many of us knows the famous Darwin's theory of the fittest, survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest theory, many of us knows. So that has come out, or that has resulted into this competition aspect. So competition, metabolism, all these are terminologies of ecology. And the same thing is applied to a city also, because according to this ecological approach, the city has been compared to ecology or living organism. So these things, segregation, succession, competition, metabolism, etc., these has been linked to the various stages of human community structure. That is, what is community structure? That is the organization. That is the various organizations that we find in the city today. And the various functions that is there in the city, or the various functionalities of a city, that has been compared to these things: segregation, succession, competition, metabolism, etc. Now, if you remember from the previous lecture, the previous lecture on urban land use theories, we have seen a city, the name of a city, which was very common, and that was Chicago. So Chicago's land use has been studied in the previous in the previous theories, in the previous urban land use theory. Even in this theory, in this ecological approach, mainly this ecological approach started from Chicago City, or the scholars studied Chicago City and they based their ideas, they based their scholarly works, they based their approach on the Chicago School. So this is also known as the Chicago School. Now, according to this Chicago School, what the scholars they said, that the city, they conceived that the city is a closed and a functional system, or a functional community. It is a closed. There's a difference between in ecology. When we study ecology, there is a concept of closed ecosystem and open ecosystem. So the same thing, I'm not going to details of what is closed and open ecosystem. Those are concepts of ecology. But the same thing has been transferred over here. The same idea has been transferred over here. That is, a city is a closed system. It is not an open system. And it can be treated as an organism or a superorganism. Now, why an organism? Because organism, when we speak about organism, that means it has got life. It is a living thing. So any living thing is dynamic. What is dynamic? That it is always changing. It is not static. It is dynamic. So the city is dynamic. Now, dynamic in what aspect? How is it changing? Dynamic because it changes over time and space. Now, this results to this, the third one, that is focus. Now, what is a focus? So, because it is organic, because it is dynamic, so thirdly, the focus is on the spatial and the temporal dimensions of the city. Now, what is spatial and temporal dimensions of the city? That means a city develops through time and space. You can take the example of any city. Any city develops through some time and it also changes over space. So we need to study the space, the spatial aspect and also the temporal aspect to know the difference between what it was, what it is, and what it will be. Now, next on, we see that this is the person, Robert Ezra Park. This is the person who was the man behind this ecological approach. Now, there were other people also, but this is the person who was the important scholar, the most important scholar who came out with this ecological approach. Now, as I have told that this ecological approach, it was the most dominant approach during the pre-classical time. That is, already I have shown us the slide. That is, it is around 1940s. It had developed around that time, 1930s and 1940s. So during that time, this ecological approach was the most dominant approach. So you can say that around 1930 to 1950, this was the most dominant approach. So scholars like Robert Ezra Park, so scholars like these, who belong to this school, they studied the urban population by using the principles that I told before, that is the biological principles, that is the principle of ecology. So they studied urban population according to the biological principles. So according to the ecological principles. So I have already told in my previous slide about the various types, how ecology was, the ecology and city or ecology or urban area, they were, both of them were parallel. How ecology and urban city, urban areas were paralleled. So Robert Ezra Park also, who was the most well-known scholar of this school, he believed that the principles of the human world are similar to those of the biological one. That is, again, the ecological thing. So the biological principles were studied by the scholars over here. And like I had told you before, so when we speak about biology, when we speak about ecology, So the term of competition also comes. So they believe, they assume that this school assume that survival of the fittest is one of the most important mantra for a city population or the city or the segregation of a city. However, it is not that they only studied about the biological aspect, they also studied about the various empirical studies. Now, these are the various features of this kind of an approach, of ecological approach. The first one is that Robert Ezra Parks, this can be, his work can be traced back to 1925, but then later it developed in around 1930 1935. Now, the patterns and relationships, the second feature. Now, the patterns and relationship that is evident in a city could be paralleled by land use and people in the city. The third one is the fundamental concept, fundamental principle of this approach, that is the concept of competition. Then we have two important points, two important features. What are the two important features? That it is the characteristics is based upon characteristics of people of certain places and the tensions and conflicts at the boundaries of those communities. The first point is it is concentrated on the characteristics of people in certain places and the tensions and conflicts or the problems at the boundaries of those communities. So over here, this one gives rise to the slide to the terminology of segregation of ecology. When you have segregation, you will have problem. Segregation of species, when there is segregation between two species, then obviously there will be problem also. Another thing is that rather than individuals, it applied to people groups, because ecology does not deal with a single species, but ecology deals with a group of species along with their environment. So it deals with people groups and not individuals. As already said, this is also known as the Chicago School of Thought. One of the most important things is that, according to Park, he said that migration was one of the most important reasons for changing the composition of large American cities like Chicago. Again, Chicago, because they base their work on Chicago. So according to Park, it was the migration is the most important concept which changes the composition. Now, how composition changes? Composition changes by the population. Then migration will come, so that will bring about a difference in the demography. It will bring about a difference in the ethnic distribution of the people originally in that group. Now, supposing in the borders of India, for example, the Rohingya immigrants. Now, when the Rohingya immigrants would start coming, or when they were coming, or now that many of them have settled down in the borders of India, especially the borders with Bangladesh, in that area, so the demography has totally changed in those regions. So the ethnic characteristics has also changed in that region. So when migration leads to what? Migration leads to changing composition of any city, of any big city, because generally migrants are attracted to bigger cities. They are not much more interested in the smaller cities. They are interested in the bigger cities. So when they come in hordes, then what happened? The ethnic composition of that city changes. You can take the example of modern time Canada also. In Canada, you have got so much of ethnic differences. There are so many Asian people also in Canada. So migration was thought to be as one of the most important reasons, and we will see how that is so. Now, during that time, during 1930s and that time, America witnessed the expansion of various large cities. Now, why this expansion? Because during that time in America, there was an influx of migrants. There was an influx of ethnic communities, influx of laboring classes. So these marginalized communities, these migrants or the ethnic communities or the laboring classes, we call them as a marginalized societies, marginalized communities. So the marginalized communities, there was a boom of marginalized community, influx of marginalized community into America. Because during that time, if you just go through history, there were many industries coming up in America, and so people would come to America for various kinds of economic purpose. So these cities, they witnessed an expansion of these cities. So the main point of expansion was what? The main catalyst was migration. So what happened? And because of this, because there was an influx of these migrants and the marginalized communities, because there was an expansion of the large cities. Now, because of this, the US scholars, particularly those living in Chicago, that school of thought, Chicago School of Thought, they started studying the various aspects of urban geography based upon the Chicago, because Chicago during that time, it was the most important American city, that there was a very high influx of migrants. Now, because of that, what happened? Because of that, during the 20th century, after America witnessed the same, there were other bigger cities which also saw an influx of migrants. Now, when that happened, what happened? There was an ethnic enclaves occurred, because America witnessed an emergence of expansion. So because of the emergence of expansion, what happened? There was manifold study in the urban subject matter, not only in America, but what happened in all the cities, in all the bigger cities, there were ethnic enclaves occurred. Now, ethnic, this word means, this is a racial aspect, means different race. And what is enclave? We will see. So these ethnic enclaves occurred, emerged. Why? Because of migration, because of in-migration of others into that area. Now, this is the famous concentric ring. So the famous Burgess theory. Now, why I showed this slide over here is because during the same time, I have already said that this theory, ecological approach, was given before the classical theory, and it went on through the classical theory also. So during that time, Burgess, it is famous concentric zone theory. I have already said about this in my previous lecture. He illustrates the same which I have been saying in the previous slide. So see, this is again based on Chicago City. So what happens? He illustrates in his land use and distribution pattern of Chicago City. He states that the manufacturing activities over here, it determined the nature of life in America during the 20th century. So the migrant laborers, try to remember what I had told, where the migrant laborer stays, the first generation migrant laborers, the second generation migrant laborers, all this was covered in the previous lecture. So the migrant laborers who were attracted to these cities, what happened? They were attracted to these centers of capitalism, because I have already said that migration was basically economic in nature. So what happened? They were attracted to these Western capitalism concepts, and they settled in these neighborhoods, in the zone of transition, in the zone 3. They settled in these working class neighborhoods because they had low skills and equally low educational levels. So when low skills and low educational levels, so what happened? Their economic resource was also low. So they could not afford to go much out of these main region. What was the reason? Reason being economic, reason being transportation. So they wanted to stay as near to these concentrated areas as possible. So again, this concentric zone theory has been framed based upon the Chicago School of Thought, which has been framed based upon the America's influx of migrants. Now, what was the result? What was the result of this? About these coming of the various migrants and influx of migrants, of laborers. Now, this is the result. Understand this very carefully. Now, see, three kinds of things happens when we have influx of other ethnic communities into the main area. So, influx of other ethnic communities, influx of migrants, influx of foreign elements, I should say, into the main area. So the main area, maybe there are two areas, that is A and B. So B is the main area. So in B, the A people are coming. B does not belong to A people, but A people are migrants to B people. Now what happens? These three things happen. The first thing is a colony will happen. What is colony? The colonies are the port of entry for the newcomers. Now what happens? See these dots. The pink dots are the initial clustering. So initially when the migrants will come, the migrants will initially cluster into these regions. This is a CBD region. So they will cluster near to the CBD region. And then later on, they will do what? They will disperse. They will eventually, this ethnic community will disperse into the host community. So in these regions, the original inhabitants of this place were staying. So people who are immigrants, first they will come and stay close to the CBD region, and then slowly they will do what? They will disperse into the host society. But there is one important thing. They will do so in the same generation. So again, I am repeating, you must understand this carefully. They will come, first this is the colony, is the port of entry. First they will cluster near the CBD, and in the same generation, this is the tagline, this is the keyword. In the same generation, not other generations, in the same generations, they will disperse. They are dispersing in the same generation. They are dispersing equally into the host societies. See this picture over here. This is from Canada. Now over here, you are seeing that this is Punjab. It is written over here, Punjab. Now over here, there are other things also, other shops also. Now they have dispersed themselves. They have dispersed themselves into this locality. So this is the colony. The second is enclave. Now what is enclave? The ethnic concentrations, they will stay in the same concentrated form in the same area over several generations. Here in the same generations, they are dispersing out. Here what they are doing? The ethnic concentration will stay for several generations. Initially, they will cluster near the CBD. But then what will happen? In the next generation, first they will stay for several generations. Over a time, in subsequent generations, they will disperse among the host population. But see the nature of dispersion here and dispersion here. Even if they are dispersing, what they are doing, even if they are dispersing, they are keeping a tie, keeping a close contact with the original concentration, with the original group. They are keeping a tie with the original group. Again, at the same time, their dispersion is different. They are dispersing in concentrated form. They are dispersing in groups. They are not dispersing like individual families over here. They are dispersing in groups. So first of all, they will stay at a place for several generations, and then when they disperse, they will disperse in group. And that dispersion will occur over subsequent generations, not in the same generations. Like for example, over here, Punjabi market is written. over here main street is written. So these are Punjabi areas, Punjabi groups which has been dispersed into the host area, host region. Because it is host region, so we find also the other language also, the host region's language also. Or like for example in Toronto, we will find Italian immigrants, various Italian immigrants, and they make their own ethnic concentrations in that is known as Little Italies. But they will do what? They will ultimately, they will spill over to the host population. The third one is ghetto. Now what is ghetto? Ghetto is what? First they will cluster at a certain point of area which is close to the CBD, but then they won't disperse into the host population. They find it difficult to disperse into the host population. So they will keep on residing in the same area. Their area might obviously increase, but they will reside in the same area over generations. So that may be because of various reasons as given over here, because of culture, language barriers, etc. Over here, you see I have given this example. This is an example of famous Chinatown or Tiretta Bazaar of Kolkata. This picture has been taken from there. So over here, just like you are seeing this man, this Chinese man, he has come, like this person had come long, many generations back. And they have stayed on in this. If you go to there are two pictures over here. So this shows that their ethnic, their food habits, everything still remains the same. And over here, their cultures. This is a picture of the Chinese New Year in Kolkata. So their cultures, their house style, everything is still the same. So they have kept themselves, this is a ghetto, where they do not disperse with the host population. They remain in their own areas. That is called a ghetto. Now this is an assimilation model. How these ethnic then migrants, because this generation, this approach, ecological approach, as you have seen in the earlier slides, they were more concerned with city as an organism, wherein, and this started, this Chicago School of Thought, this started how? This started as with immigrants, influx of the marginalized communities in America. So that means ethnicity is one of the most important concepts for this approach. Now that brings about this model, which is called the assimilation model. Now what happens in over here, the first one, what happens? New group comes. Now three kinds of things can happen when a new group will come. Either when a new group will come to a certain area, either that group won't like that area and they will move out of that group, or that group will stay in that area with the earlier population, or they will replace, when new group will come, they will replace the earlier old group to become the area's main population. So over here we find arrival of new population group. Now when the population group arrives, they are staying in that region. Now what will be the outcome? Outcome will be according to the nature of assimilation. Either these three kinds can happen, that is a level of new group's distinctiveness, degree of assimilation, and time required for assimilation. It can be, each can be either low to high. So there is a scale from low to high. So based upon this, what happens? This we call the degree of assimilation. So first is the arrival of new population group, and then we see the degree of assimilation from low to high. Now based upon this degree of assimilation, what will happen? Certain special outcomes will come. What special outcomes? Now if it is low, if assimilation degree is low, then obviously there will be no special concentration, because when there is no assimilation, then how can there be concentration? There is no concentration. If it is mediocre, moderate, then what will happen? There will be short-term special concentration. But if it is high degree of assimilation, then what will happen? There will be long-term special concentration. That new group will stay in the new area for long term, because they have replaced that group. Their distinctiveness is high, their assimilation degree is high, the time required for assimilation is high, and because it is high, so what happens? They have very well gelled with the area, so long-term special concentration. Now, if it is short-term special concentration, that will lead to colonies, and long-term special concentration will lead to enclaves and ghettos. So these are the various social forms. It is colonies, enclaves, and ghettos that will be formed. What these are, I have already told you. Now, because of these colonies, enclaves, and ghettos, so these are being formed by what? These are being formed by the incoming migrants or the immigrants. These have been formed by the immigrants. The colonies, the enclaves, and the ghettos have not been formed by the host population. Like I told you in the previous slides, they have been formed by the immigrants into the area where they have come. So this will lead to what? This will lead to the internal fragmentation of that society, of that area. Through what? By ethnicity, because there will be various ethnic groups. Like for example, Canada. In Canada, we have got various ethnic groups. We have the Indians. Among Indians, we have got various groups. We have the Punjabis. We have the Gujaratis. So we have the Keralites. There are various ethnic groups. So there will be internal fragmentation. First fragmentation is what? The immigrants. Within immigrants, there will be various other fragmentation based upon micro-ethnicity. So they will again fragment themselves according to this. Try to remember the picture that I have shown. Within Toronto, you are having Punjabi markets. So within Toronto also, the Indian immigrants, the Indian immigrants have assimilated themselves into various internal fragmentation of the Punjabis, of the Gujaratis, etc. So the traditional ecosystem, the ecological approach, when we speak about the ecological approach, is that traditional ecological studies can be categorized into 4 basic types. So ecological approach, morphological approach, social area approach, and the factorial ecological approach. So there are 4 basic types of approaches while we study the ecological studies, when we study ecological studies. Of them, the morphological approach has already been told to you in the previous lecture, and these are the 3 models: concentric, sector, and multiple nuclei. Ecological approach comes before morphological, so it has been given at the start. So here so this was all about the ecological approach.